Thank you very much. So I'm Rahmatullah Arman. I'm CEO and founder of Teacher Afghanistan. Thank you very much for having me. I'm really happy to be talking about the experiences we have had in my country, some of the challenges we are facing and some of the solutions we are having and trying to these challenges. So the session today is about the challenges you may face just because of your gender, just because you're a woman. I am going to share some of the challenges our people, our women in Afghanistan are facing just because they're women. The women who are not allowed to go to school, who are not allowed to get education just because of their gender, who are being discriminated just because of their gender. It's with the beliefs, it's with the system, it's with the culture, it's also with the support and the system that has been since decades for them. Some of those challenges I can start by sharing is that, like in the beginning, based on the local culture and beliefs in my country, people do not want their girls to be taught by a male teacher. So there's huge shortage of female teachers. That's one big reason behind millions of girls staying out of school, because they don't want their daughters to be taught by a male teacher. So that single reason has resulted millions to be out of school. Beside that, the schools lack premises, especially wash facilities. That's very much needed for women. Because of that, people do not allow their daughters to go to school. Other reason, obviously, with the belief where people feel if their daughter gets educated, she will not be a very decent, good girl, obviously, because she will know her rights. She will be asking about her rights. So that has been another big reason for people deciding not letting their girls go to school and getting education. With that, there's also a huge belief that if some people say that if their daughter can read and write, that's enough for them, because obviously they are not going to allow them to become a teacher or do any job. So that's enough for a girl. So by the time they reach 9th grade, they're gonna drop them out. Beside that, the insecurities, obviously, I'm sure everyone is aware about that in Afghanistan. The insecurities and increased attacks against educational institutions, against schools, especially against girls' schools, against female education, where they are bombed, they're attacked, and acids are thrown into their faces, their foods are poisoned, doing everything and leaving no stone unturned to stop girls from getting education. Beside that, obviously, the support they need in having good teachers, quality education, the premises they need, and the security they need. The government of Afghanistan as well haven't been able to really meet these demands and really pay a very good attention toward girls' education, so they will be able to really continue their education. What at Teach Afghanistan we are doing, we know that these challenges are at different levels, starting from their families, from the communities, from the schools, from the government, and the society overall. So how do we really tackle all these challenges at all these different levels? What at Teach for Afghanistan we do, starting from the school, obviously, challenging these specific problems that they are facing. With this shortage of female teachers, what at Teach for Afghanistan we do is we recruit highly qualified young female graduates. We send them in those schools where they face shortage of female teachers. So that gap is filled. They receive a very highly qualified teacher, a teacher who teaches them to believe in themselves, who teach the girls that it's not enough for them to just learn how to read and write, and they can really become a doctor, they can become an engineer, they can have their right, they can live their life by their own choices. So they teach them their rights, they teach them what are they capable of doing, they give them examples, they help those girls reach their potential and have a good vision, a vision that they set themselves, not the men and their families. That's what this new teachers comes up with. And this teacher, at the same time, who fills the gap of female, lack of female teachers or shortage of female teachers, also fills the gap of the quality that this teacher is really filling that. Beside that, the teacher also builds a very strong relationship with the parents of these children. So we, at another level, we try our best to support the children with their studies through their parents. So the parents help them with their studies, especially these girls. But at the same time, like by holding monthly sessions, parent sessions, where parents do come to the schools, or the fellows of Teach for Afghanistan go to the homes of these students, they try their best to talk with the parents of the children, to really make them understand that it's not just enough to read and write. It's not just enough to say that they're able to read and write and that's enough, but they can have a better life, they can have a better career, they can be a teacher like me. A very good example of that, I can share a live example of that in Parwan province of Afghanistan, where we work. uh, a girl, a ninth grade girl whose name was Afsana, she did want to leave school. She wanted to drop out. Her parents were very much pressurizing her to drop out. She was on the verge of dropping out from the school when her teacher notices, the fellow of Teach for Afghanistan notices the situation, and immediately before leaving this girl getting drop out of the school, she planned a session where she called the parents of this girl to just attend a single session. After that, obviously, whatever they wanted to do, they could continue with that, but just a single session so they could continue in that. With that session, what happened? The girl, the female teacher of Teach for Afghanistan, she did also bring her child as well. She was teaching. She said to the parents, see, it's not being a bad girl. It's not being a bad woman continuing your education. Your daughter can also continue her education. Like me, I am also wearing my hijab. I am also married. It's not being a bad girl. I am also a good woman. I have been educated. I can have my children look, this is my child. I can also continue my life having a very being a good name with myself, and at the same time continue my life, have an earning as well, and still being a good woman. So this is a complete uh, uh, wrong belief that if your daughter gets an education, she'll be a bad woman. Look at me. This will be the example, having my hijab, my child, and my job as well. And what I'm doing is trying my best to help the children to have a better life, to have a better understanding. So that's, I think, how it very much worked on the parents, and the parents really believed in that. So what happened in that result was they did not drop out that school, that girl, and the girl is still continuing, and now she's in third grade. She's thankful, but we are still trying our best because we know it's not enough. We know it's not the end. We know there are millions of other girls who are still facing similar situations of getting dropout because of such beliefs. So working with the parents builds that strong relationship where we break that second layer of uh, the challenge that comes from the parent side, so that that stops girls from getting an education. The third challenge very much comes from the community, the people's mindset, especially in Afghanistan. The villages are very much respecting the words and the decisions by religious elders, respecting the words by village elders and all those. So they very much enforce their mindsets on all these people. So the schools are there. So if they consider girls' education not to be a good thing, obviously that's going to very much affect the all girls who want to get an education in that village. So what at Teach for Afghanistan and that level we do is building again another stronger relationship within the communities, organizing community sessions on a monthly basis, and also at the same time even going to the mosques and organizing sessions, learning and awareness session, where we talk about education in Islam itself, its religious perspective as well, where they can have an education. At the same time, we do also share how can these people really contribute to the wellness and improvement and the development of the village. And through all these strengthening relationship and the relationship at all these different levels, specifically with this community level as well, we also ensure that the third layer, the third obstacle that's on the way of girls getting education, that's also challenged, and that's also solved. So that's, instead of being a challenge, that's a support for them. Another fourth level, there comes the government, where they need to work hard. They need to really provide the premises that are needed for girls, so that this should not become an obstacle for them, a challenge for them for not going to school. So what we do at Teach for Afghanistan is we do advocacy with the high-level government authorities, with the we have had sessions with the First Lady of Afghanistan at the ministries level, with the minister level, with deputy ministers, very much discussing about these challenges and trying our best to make sure that these premises are provided. At the same time, the challenge of shortage of female teachers, the gap that is there, that should be filled. And the challenges that women are facing, that their voice should be heard, and there should be awareness sessions, the same as we do at different levels, from parents, from communities, at provincial levels, and all those levels that can be very much effective and that can help girls get an education. We can help them, because in Afghanistan, over 51% of the population are women, so they are the majority. But when we come to what rights they have got, they are the most affected and the most underprivileged, and they have not received their rights. And like, for example, recently we conducted a survey to see what percentage of the government employees are women and what percentage of the government and overall NGOs employees are men. We found that over 90% were men and only 10% were women. Obviously, that was the result of a lot about discrimination. At the same time, it was also the result of all these challenges that girls face during their education, during schooling, who are not able to go to continue their education. Now, obviously, it results to not reaching high school and not high school, and then not reaching universities. And when coming to the market, to the job market and this competition, they are not able to really get these jobs. And with the increased challenges and insecurities, they very much rely on men, on their husbands. But if something happens to them, as daily happens, and daily hundreds of people are getting killed in Afghanistan due to all these bombings and all those, they are left with no other option. They cannot gain anything for themselves. They cannot have a job. They cannot really earn something for their life. So all of these challenges that women are facing right now is the result from all those different layers, all those different levels that I have shared. So at Teach for Afghanistan, our overall focus is to really tackle these challenges with at different levels. And at the same time, the model that we are following, that it's a global model where we are, after completing of 2 years of fellowship, our fellows do work at different sectors. This means during these 2 years, they are going to tackle internal challenges in education sector in Afghanistan. But after completing of 2 years of fellowship, they are going to work in different sectors. Majority of them will remain in schools, but then some of them who will work in TVs as journalists, they will be sharing awareness about girls' rights, women's rights, about education inequity. That's happening in Afghanistan. Together, people support and raise voice against that. The same thing is with the insecurity as well, with the curriculum as well. We already have got some of our fellows who have completed these fellowship. Our alumni have become school principals. Recently, one alumni of Teach for Afghanistan was elected based on the highest public vote in Nangarhar province itself as a youth representative, and he will be working at a very high government level right now, leadership level, to really tackle these challenges. So that's what we believe, is that we need such a local leadership. We need people in power who are aware of the challenges, who have seen these challenges, who have this understanding that these are the challenges and these can be solutions, who can raise their voice, who can really gather support for these people, especially the most vulnerable, the women in Afghanistan. So that's our belief. That's the work we do overall at Teach for Afghanistan, to ensure the women receive safe, equal, and quality education by all these approaches that I have just shared.
Well, thank you, Arman. That is an amazing, as I say, an amazing quest that you're on, and I hope you're not alone. How big is your organization?
Thank you very much. Our organization, counting very much the fellows and all, alumni network and all, we have over 293 alumni. Great. We have 47 fellows. Mm-hmm. Staff, we have above 20 staff, and we are active in 3 provinces of Afghanistan, in Parwan, Nangarhar, and Kabul. So that's in eastern and northern part of Afghanistan, following 2 different school schedules. Mm-hmm. That's how we are, and the strength, the work, I would call that our fellows, alumni who are really the force behind all these changes that we have brought and the change that we want to bring. So these are the people who are bringing it. At Teach for Afghanistan, we are providing the support, and we are being the bridge to really help them reach their goal and really bring that change that's very much needed in my country.
Fantastic. We have Berta and Vagma and Medina, I think, joining us. Welcome from different parts of the world. We're so happy to see you here. With this question and answer, probably the easiest thing to do, well, there's only 5 of us. If anyone would like to ask a question, please just raise your hand, or if you want, there's a way to do it in the chat. If you open the chat and you type a small letter I will know that you want to say something, or you can just type it directly in the chat and I'll be happy to read it off for Arman, okay? I'll ask one more question because you may be typing your questions right now, but Arman, it seems like you are definitely focusing on empowering women, educating women. Is there any thought to awareness for men and boys on the other side, making them understand this problem as well?
Indeed, I think that's the biggest part of the work that we are focusing at Teach for Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. Because I very much honestly say that the challenges the women are facing is because of the mindsets we men carry in Afghanistan, specifically in our context, and the challenges they face is a result of our beliefs, our enforced acts and cultures that we have really enforced them to really be this way. And when we are talking about harsh behaviors, about completely stopping them from going to school. So all these things are happening by men. And obviously men play a huge role in helping us stop all these actions. So what a Teach for Afghanistan do, we are very much focusing on educating these men, starting from the very, very beginning, and that's school. That's where we have fellows. That's why at Teach for Afghanistan, we have both male and female fellows. while the majority are female, but we do also have male fellows. So their biggest role is to really help the young boys at school level know that they are very much equal to the girl sitting beside them or another classroom, to their sister. There is no difference in that. They are as capable as a woman. So there's no doubt in that. They are teaching them that women can have also a career as they can have. When women can also be a doctor, an engineer, as they can have. And how do they behave at home? How do they behave at school? How do they behave with women at the societies and the roads and everywhere? And obviously, this very much the highest impact that it can have, according to our belief, everything starts from school. So, and the teacher that we are having, that's very much enabling that change to happen, that change to be brought through these boys. They have also role plays and games plays where they play games in really understanding the gender roles, where they can also at the same time, we do also have sessions inside schools where they learn about women around the world. So it's not just what they hear from their villages, what they hear from their elders, what they hear from those other men who have such mindsets, and they are really teaching these young boys, young kids to have this very much similar mindset. So they can really learn from the history, they can really learn from examples, good examples from around the world where women are presidents, where women are playing great roles, where women do have almost equal rights as men do have in most of these countries. So such examples where they can be pilots, they can be engineers, they can be doctors. I think that's what, and also some local examples, I think something that they could absorb, they could really understand, and at the same time they can spread at their homes as well. Something that we usually use is that in my country, with all these beliefs that we have, there's also a strong belief within the men that nobody wants to take their daughter, their wives to a male doctor. So everybody, whenever they have a sick wife, a sick daughter, they're very much behind and looking for a female doctor. But obviously, if you're not allowing your daughter to go to school and you're not allowing them to go to universities, obviously, how many female doctors can we have? So that's very much something we use against this belief whenever we are talking with them, is examples like this, that see, we all are looking for a female doctor, but none of us are working to educate our girls. And if we continue to do like that, so obviously that's in the future, your sister, your mother will eventually have to go to a male doctor. Obviously, that may not be a bad thing, but obviously, based on the mindset of the boy and then their families, that's something they will be thinking about. They'll be sharing at their home. So the same thing, as I said, at the community sessions that we are having, at the parent session that we are having, this is one thing that we want to share always, that the discrimination that has been happening with the woman, it does nothing have to do with our culture. It does nothing have to do with our religion. While our religion gives an equal right in that. In education, it says education is compulsory on both men and women in Quran itself. So we quote religious like surahs and ayats to them very much to really help them understand in that way. And also giving them some examples from Afghanistan itself. Like 100 years ago, the first lady of Afghanistan who built schools, who was joining sessions, who was having speeches, so like such examples. Even now in Afghanistan, like Malala, there's so many greater examples that we are having. So they are also that force that we are sharing, and with this, with the community levels, with the parents. And at the same time, we are also sharing this with the fellows, that we need to create such examples from these girls who are with us, from ourselves, whoever we are, all these fellows, alumni that we are. So that is the focus we are always paying toward male education, because we know that's the problem where it's coming toward, and especially this at school and beginning level.
Yeah. It's how can you break the chain isn't it? How can you stop the perpetuation of this? It's so hard, and it's not you. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's a constant battle of education, isn't it? I mean, in the very end, it's just all about education.
Indeed, all about education, and indeed.
I was going to ask, would you guys each please into the chat, the group chat, just type where you are listening from? I'm just curious because we've got a very diverse group here. I'll do mine. Oops, that was not that was not to everyone. Okay. So we've got Catalonia and Afghanistan. Am I pronouncing your name right? Is it Vagma or is it Wagma? You can just say yes or no. Vagma? Okay. Can I ask how you learned about this this presentation? We're waiting. Medina, if you would answer that same question, how did you hear about this?
Well, yes, I learned about this session from Teach for Afghanistan's Facebook page that was broadcast in there. It said you can join this session. Overall, I joined through that one.
Okay, fantastic. And do you want to tell us a little bit about your personal experience and why you're here to help Arman reinforce this message or learn from him?
As I am working with the Teach for Afghanistan organization, and I wanted to learn more about how Rahmatullah Arman, our CEO, is helping the women, and that was the main reason, because I'm also a woman, and he is really a supportive person while being with him, and I'm sure that we can do our best to empower women more, and they will be our leaders as well.
Vagma, are you able to speak as well?
Yes, I can.
Would you tell us a little bit about your reason for coming here to support this presentation?
I'm also working with Teach for Afghanistan organization, and Mr. Arman is our CEO.
Okay.
And I just came here to listen more about girls' education and how to support girls, as we are all working in this section. And also, I'm a project coordinator officer. I'm working in girls section, and I'm supporting our both provinces, Nangarhar and Parwan, our fellows, our alumni, and our fellow coaches, everyone. Just I'm here to learn more about it from our CEO.
Great. Have you seen, both of you, have you seen progress in your lifetimes, in the time that you've gone through school? Forward progress in this sense?
Well, yes, I have seen a huge amount of progress while we were working on with the female students. I'm sure that we have already helped more women or more students, and they are joining the schools, as Mr. Arman before shared about Afsana. She is working. She is going to school, and most of the fellows that we are having, they are female, and that's the reason that every day by day, in our fellowship programs, we are accepting more applicants from females. So this is the reason that they got that this program is beneficial for them and also for their community members. So that's why they are coming to us. They are joining us to help the community members, especially female students.
Thank you. Arman, I've got a question. To what extent are you using technology in what you do? So much of it seems person to person, and that's what it has to be at the beginning. But are you using technology to create videos or to create marketing around this? Or
Thank you very much. I think in Afghanistan, obviously, like the way we just from all the way from that platform, we landed into Zoom. So that's because of all this technology, internet connection problems and all. At our office level, we do use the technology like Zoom and all these with our staff, with our fellows. But when it comes to schools, obviously that's the facility. Obviously, when they do not have basic school premises, then obviously they will school. The schools aren't really equipped with any kind of technology, and especially during this pandemic as well, I can say that. Just because they didn't have schools didn't have access to technology, to internet, the children did not have access to any smartphone and all. So what happened in case the government tried their best to really launch online programs, virtual programs due to the COVID, and there was different TV programs that were being broadcasted. But it really didn't reach millions and millions of children because they were poor. They didn't have access to all of these. At Teach for Afghanistan, we do very much focus on solutions that will not require technology. That's because the people we are serving, they do not have access to it. So, and to really work in that, so most of the work we do, it's very much by visiting schools, organizing meetings that are in person, meeting the children and really trying to teach them in person. And when it comes to really sharing something with them, it's never something online, it's never something by email or soft. So we always print them, they write it, the fellows, they either write it or they print it, so they distribute it. That's what we did during the COVID restrictions as well. And that very much was one of the best solutions being happened at Afghanistan level because it reached all the students. While millions of dollars were spent to reach them through online televisions and all, that didn't reach them. But what the solution we provided, it reached millions. And I think that was one of the solutions that also at the same time were followed with Teach for Afghanistan. And that's overall our focus is when it comes to technology and use of technology overall. But at the same time, I would say it's always important. Maybe today, tomorrow, next year, maybe years ahead, we will have to reach that level to use technology because it can be very much helpful for our children, for all of us. And that may be the very easier way to help children and reach all these children to at their homes as well. But right now, because of the very rare resources, this is not being used very mostly, but so some of the staff, they use it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've presented this case and this cause in a very eloquent way. It's clear that you're a storyteller. But as we get close to the end, I can't help but ask you, could you tell us a little bit about how you arrived at this place in this moment in time, doing what you do? There must have been some experience, or a series of experiences that led to this, because you clearly have found your purpose. So, and we're all about that.
Thank you very much. I think I've been born in Afghanistan. I've gone to schools in Afghanistan, and now at the same time, we are 3 brothers and 4 sisters. So I think the biggest reason, or I have seen my sisters and my father, a very great champion and example for me have always been, because in a time when women were not, as we are talking about 2001, we were facing all these challenges. So some, just we can think about 40 years back, 30 years back, the challenges were bigger than today. So at that time, my father believed in girls' education. He helped my mom to really create a life very much equally, where my mom was working as a teacher. And at the same time, he did try his best to educate my sisters. We had to migrate to Pakistan to just kind of leave everything we had in Afghanistan to go to Pakistan. The reason was just because during the Taliban regime, boys could go to school, but it was banned for girls. So my dad did not want my sisters to be out of school. Just for my sisters, he did accepted all these problems and challenges. We went there. And so the focus he always had and the teachings he always shared with us about girls' education, about the education that my sisters could receive, that was a big learning. And at the same time, living in Afghanistan, in our context, the challenges that I have seen women face, that are all those forces that will not allow you sit in a very much in your comfort chair, and you have to do something. When I was in India, when I was doing my master's studies, all the way toward all the education, I just went for my master's, and the only thing that I had in my mind was I should come up with solution. I should come up with something that will change at least some lives, especially for women. And on there, I came to know about Teach for India. You worked with them for some time voluntarily. And when I came to Afghanistan, I did for about 4 years, I did research surveys. I met people from communities, from different levels, different mindsets, to really make this global moral work in the context of Afghanistan. And finally, in 2016, I launched Teach for Afghanistan. And now we are impacting the people who are most of the employees, over 80% of our employees, female alumni, are women. So I think it's just in my context, as I said in the beginning, being Afghan and having that experience, seeing all these injustices happening to women, all these challenges that are happening, or people, a portion of the population facing just because of their gender, it's very much is really looking for solution, and we have to be that solution. We need to be that force. We need to be that voice for them, because at the same time, there's some percentage of feeling that these all came because of men, and we very much feeling ourselves responsible for that, our generation responsible for that. And really to change that, we need to take that action, because we need to be that voice. Women do, and when you look at the families, when you sit with women, you will see a lot of women talking about the injustices that are happening to them. But when it comes to the men, because they are not in streets, they are not in gatherings, they are not very much seen around in Afghanistan. It's we men who go, who people do look at us, speak with us, who listen to us. So if this voice of equality and woman empowerment comes from the words of a man, I think that's something will be a different, at the same time, something that people will listen to, that he is also a man, but at the same time looking for equality for women as well. So that's where I think change begins, and that's where our responsibility begins, and that's where I feel myself very much responsible in bringing this change. And that's what forms me and the work that I do, and the vision that we have, that in Afghanistan, regardless of our gender, regardless of our race, religion, we should all have an equal right, an equal life, a life where all of us are seen equal. And that's what I think is only and only possible through education. And that's what we are trying. That's what our weapon is right now, to really bring this change to.
Thank you, Arman. I can't think of a better way to perhaps end this session than that statement. But if anyone has any questions, I'm so happy to help curate this session and get those to Armand. You can type them, but if you don't, that's okay, because I'd like to thank you, Armand, for being part of this festival and enriching this festival with your cause and from a very diverse part of the world that we don't know enough about. So Medina and Vagmas, thank you so much for joining us. When all of this pandemic ends, you're invited to Barcelona to come visit our space and spend time seeing how we approach learning. We'd love to have you. Okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that this opportunity is given, and I'm glad to be able to share with all of you. So looking forward, obviously would love to see Barcelona and learn from your work as well.